rocking.
Is this where the damn drumming and the music kicks in?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to On the Pipe Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepherdson, and today is Tuesday, January the 10th, 2023, years after zero. We are back in your life for another episode of On the Pipe Podcast. This is OTP Tuesday, and I want to say thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here to the number one podcast in off-road, the podcast that other podcasts get their information from, and the podcast that makes you want to start your own podcast, On the Pipe Podcast. Thank you guys for being here with me. Thank you for jumping into another new year with me in 2023. This is going to be an awesome year. It's going to be an exciting year. And I know it's been a little bit of a gap since our last show, so I do apologize for that, but it's been the off season. I've had some stuff going on personally, and then I don't know. I'm gonna spare you the excuses. We're not gonna get into it, but what we're gonna get into is another episode of On the Pipe Podcast. I got a couple things on deck. I had a show lined up for today that probably end up pushing to next week. And then really after that, we got National Enduro coming up. 2 weeks after that, we got GNCC coming up, local racing coming up. So we're about to be right in the thick of the season. So until we get right back into that thick of the season, I got a couple ideas for the show, but we're really going to ramp it up once the season starts. So we got some exciting news, some big exciting news coming to you. I am up to something once again, but hopefully we're going to blow this thing out of the water. OTP is going to continue to be the number one source in off-road racing. So I thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for joining me. We are 158 days away from going racing at the Bite GP series to find out who is the best in the East. We're going to find that out 158 days from today, the Bite GP series presented by On the Pipe Podcast. Hope to see you guys out at some races, and I've talked to a lot of people over the past couple weeks that seem to be pretty excited about it. So we got all the way until June 17th before we go racing, so that way I can get the kinks worked out, get dialed in, and more importantly, bring you guys all the information that you need to know about going racing. I do want to let you guys know this was a very fun episode. Sat down with Trevor Bollinger, so this is going to be just the conversation between Trevor and I. It's like a 2-hour-long conversation. We really dove into Trevor's career and how he got to where he's at now. We talked a lot about the injuries that he's suffered over the past few seasons and just really how he started out racing GNCC all the way into an XC2 championship, all the way to an XC1 factory pro rider. And we kind of go through it chronologically and talk about everything in depth. And like I said, it is a long conversation, but been talking back and forth to Trevor here, more so lately, a buddy of mine, but just going through the leg injury that he's suffering now and getting back on the bike, and then just kind of the way that his career's gone. He told me that he wanted to get the chance to kind of talk about it and explain his side of it, and kind of go through some of the injuries and expectations and just his career in general. So immediately scrapped everything that we had and set up a time with Trevor to sit and talk about that stuff. So very gracious for his time. Thankful for him joining us, and I hope that you will listen to the conversation in entirety, because there's a lot of key things to take away from it. We talk a lot about his career, and then we get into kind of his mindset and everything, getting through these injuries towards the end of it. So, and an absolutely wonderful conversation. Like I said, it was 2 hours long, so it was a really good conversation. I hope that you all stick around and listen to the whole thing, because I think there's a lot of good takeaways from it, and you'll get to learn the man that is Trevor Bollinger a lot more. I know he's not as public in the social media or on the internet as some other riders, and so that's why I think it was important to get his story out and the stuff that he's been through. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoy it. But want to let you guys know, Beta Motorcycles is still the manufacturer, the official manufacturer of On the Pipe podcast. Beta Motorcycles has been family owned and operated since 1905. They manufacture the finest enduro, trials, and dual sport motorcycles that are known for their premium quality and rideability. Beta Motorcycles are the best looking bikes on the market, and they back it up with their superior performance. Head over to betausa.com for more information on their available models or to find a dealer near you to get yours today. There was a beta demo over the weekend, and I cannot tell you how many messages I've gotten since that beta demo about people that rode a beta for the first time and just messaged me saying, I completely get it. I understand rideability. I wish I would have rode a beta sooner. Do you know who sells betas? Can you put me in touch with someone that give me the best deal on a beta? And I'm not even exaggerating. I have been getting messages all weekend long from folks that were down there and got to ride, I think, 9 different beta models and how much some people liked them. So the proof is in the pudding. It's not just something that I talk about. I wouldn't talk about anything if I don't believe in it. You should know that from some sponsors that pop up for a couple shows and then you never hear about them again. It's a big important part. So I wouldn't be talking about it and I wouldn't be lying to you guys if I didn't believe it to be 100% true. And a lot of people that rode betas over the weekend found that out themselves. This episode is also brought to you in part by Zach Tussle at Raymond James Financial. As you guys heard from him when he was on the show himself, and you hear me say on here, he's a racer and a financial advisor. He's always my first recommendation when it comes to anything with saving, managing, and investing your money. You can find him on the socials at Zach Tussle or financialadvisorsdenvernc.com is the best way to reach him. And talk to him today. See what he can do for you. See how he can help out. So we're going to get straight into this episode here. I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of stuff written down. There's a lot of stuff going on in the off-road world. There's a lot of stuff that we have to cover. So the next episode, we're going to talk about that. We're going to dive into that. And then we got a GNCC preview episode on deck. But this one, since it was such a long and important and awesome conversation with Trevor Bollinger, we're going to push all that stuff. So next week, tune in. We'll talk about everything going on in the off-road world, some changes and some stuff going into the new year. But thank you for being here. Thank you as always. And without any further delay, so joining me now for a conversation that we've been talking about having on here for quite some time, a friend of the show. He's an XC2 champion. He's an ISDE world champion. And he is the rock star Husqvarna factory rider of Trevor Bollinger. Trevor, welcome back to the show, man.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for taking the time. And I know that we have a lot to get into. We've kind of been talking back and forth about doing the show and getting some stuff out there and really diving into yourself and your career. And so I'm pretty pumped to link up and chat with you again. Where are you at right now?
I'm down here at Ranch Russell in Florida. Just trying to get strong again, Been off the bike for a long time, been off the feet for a long time, so just trying to get strong again. And I think my first day on the bike should be next Monday, so looking forward to that. Just down here living the Florida life, man.
So I guess we can, I don't know, would you rather start with the injury now or would you rather start at the beginning and talk about the injury when we get there in the time code?
Let's just talk about it when we get there, I guess.
All right.
Let's start from the top.
Cool. And so, I mean, to just kind of jump right into it, I mean, you've had a really long career in GNCC, and it's come all the way to the point that you're at now on the factory team in the XC1 class. But let's kind of start back at the beginning. Let's talk about the beginning of your GNCC career and then how it kind of progressed from there.
Yeah, so, if we want to go all the way back, my A-class year, 2013, my first A-class year was actually 2011. But 2011 and 12, I went through the same thing. I had two ACL surgeries on the same knee, and it's crazy. At that point, I think my best overall finish was like 29th or something. So didn't really think it was in the cards for me to be a professional GNCC racer, and yeah, took some time off and took most of 2012 off, I think, and got a bike, I think I bought a Husky at that time, and just started doing some local races and having fun, and didn't even. I remember that year, Florida was the first round, then Georgia. Didn't even go to either one of those. Just didn't have a bike. Like I kept having problems with my Husky, and we were working on getting a Honda, and I think I ended up getting a Honda like 3 days before Steel Creek, and Steel Creek's in my backyard, so obviously I'm gonna race it, you know.
Dude,
Um,
I
ended
completely
up going.
go ahead.
Do what? I said I ended up going there and getting top amateur, and it was like a complete shock to me. Uh, and then that's transpired into my career, I guess.
Thing. So I didn't mean to cut you off back there, but that just it was a shock, a blast from the past for me. I totally forgot about the TXC days. And like
Yeah,
that was even your name, or it might still be on Snapchat or something. But I remember that being like part of your Instagram name or something. But you had the old redhead husky that I ended up actually getting later on down the road. Completely forgot about that.
you got my bike,
Yeah, the TXC 310, right?
the same one I had.
Yeah,
You got it.
yeah. That's so.
I did not know that. That thing was a pile of crap. I
I
feel
think when
bad for you.
I think when I met you, I was riding that bike.
Really,
I think so,
that's crazy. I didn't know that.
cause I think you had one. I think Vance Earl had one.
Yeah, dude, I can't remember the contingency plan, but it was crazy that even for like North Carolina's, dude, it was like 900 bucks to win a North Carolina race.
Really?
Yeah, and with me coming off two injuries, I just wanted to race locals all 2013, just to have fun and get back into racing, you
Yeah.
know. So I bought that thing thinking I was gonna, collect some contingency money, and because, dude, I mean, we didn't have any money. Like, I remember scrounging up barely enough money just to buy the bike, and then so that was my plan originally.
And so what do you think about like thinking back, like you were just talking about being tight on money and still trying to make this dream work, coming off of two ACL surgeries, and then going back to the race Steel Creek because it's the local GNCC, and just kind of all that stuff that built you into who you are and got you to this point. What do you think about like the difference in nowadays, like all the support that you see in even the A classes? Like back then, there wasn't even a lot of support for XC2, let alone A classes. And now you got A class guys getting all sorts of free bikes. And how does that weigh in your mind, thinking back to what you had to go through to get here?
Um, well, let me start off by saying I wouldn't change anything because I think me going through those tough years and not getting support even when I was doing good, it kind of it kind of shaped me into who I am. But it's good to see these kids getting support, man. They deserve it. It's I think it breeds what we're seeing now. I mean, there's been two or three guys that had some good rides, top 10 overall this year from A class, but there's a lot bigger gap from A class to XC2 than there was back in those days. So, and I think that's part of the product. You get a little soft when you get comfortable, and when you're not when you're not scrounging up working. I used to work a job throughout the week just to have enough money to go race on the weekends when I was 18, 19 years old. So even in XC2, when I was essentially a podium guy,
What
still
years
had
was that?
I had a job up until I signed with Johnny Campbell in 2016.
Dang.
Just weed eating, doing stuff on the side, just trying to make ends meet.
So 2014 was the first season full time in XC2.
Yep, 2014 was my rookie year, and it was a good year, man. I actually ended up winning. I think I podiumed my second XC2 race at Georgia, that crazy mud race we had. Um, and then I ended up winning Steel Creek that year. So my third XC2 race, I won. Kind of, I don't know what happened after that. I mean, I still had some podiums, but I kind of filtered out. And Grant was on another level that year, dude. I mean, I don't know if you remember. I don't know how many times he got on the overall podium, but uh, it was more than one. I know he almost won Georgia that year by a couple. I think it was the closest ever to XC2 winning the overall. But yeah, it was a good year. Ended up finishing second overall, and you would, in my mind at that time, I was like, I don't know how much better I could have done, and then didn't me or Stu didn't have anything going in the next year, and that's kind of what formed the Mototech KTM team.
Heading into 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So how did all that come about?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, I was down there staying with Stu a lot at that time, and neither one of us had a ride, and both both had long conversations about quitting racing, and yeah, we just like screw it, dude. Let's just start our own team. Yeah, that's how that started.
So then 2015, you're on KTM bikes, just kind of doing y'all's own thing. Come out to start that season, not a good result. And then follow that up with a few podiums in a row. How did that 2015 season go?
Um, yeah, it was rough to start with. I think I broke my hand at a local race in the off season. So I came in the season like I had like 2 or 3 weeks on the bike, and yeah, it started out pretty rough. I remember Jason Thomas and Nick Davis were pretty much the two guys battling for a title that year, and I was pretty far off the pace, even though I was getting a lot of podiums. We did have support from KTM. Wasn't much. There wasn't free bikes. We still had to pay for them, but yeah. Finally, I didn't gel with that bike. I was used to my Honda, and I think, let's see, what was my first race on the Honda? Do you remember?
The first race on a Honda?
Yeah, that year. Remember when I switched from KTM to Honda?
Let me see if I can find it here. And it's funny because we were kind of talking about that before the show. I actually met your uncle out at TNT, and that's when he told me that you guys were getting rid of a whole bunch of KTM's to go back to a Honda. Um,
Yeah,
it looks like you were on it at Snowshoe, you were on it at Penton,
Fenton was the first one, I'm pretty sure.
and then yeah,
And I had
KTM at Mountaineer Run. So yeah, Penton would have been the first run on the Honda.
mhm. Yeah, so Penton ended up, so the year I couldn't gel with the bike and ended up buying my own bike and racing from Penton on. And I remember I had a brake issue at Penton and had a bad result. And then we went to Snowshoe, and almost won the thing from not even. I think the last few races before that on a KTM, I wasn't even close to the podium. I was just really struggling, and finally got back on the podium at Snowshoe and ended up winning Ironman at the end of that year, and I think that's what set the momentum into my 2016 year. I had a good off season. I had the confidence of winning that last race.
And so when you bought the Hondas, did you have any type of support? Did you have any thought that maybe if I do well I can get support, or was it just as simple as I'm not gelling with this bike, I need to go back to what I know, what I'm comfortable with, and make the switch?
Yeah, you say Hondas, but it was it was only one. As I remember, I think we paid $6,500 out the door at Mountain Motorsports for that thing, which is crazy now. Bikes are 2 times that. But yeah, no support. I mean, we bought the bike from the dealership. I mean, I had my personal sponsors and guys that helped me with parts on the bike, but
So no
my
Hondas, just
content.
one Honda.
Yeah, Honda. The the only money I was getting was whatever was posted contingency, and yeah, it was a big gamble, and it was a lot on my shoulders at that point. I just give up. I think we ended up selling 5 or 6 KTM's, and now I'm stuck with one Honda.
Dang. So race bike, practice bike, got to make this thing
Every,
last.
everything. I don't know if you remember back then. I didn't do a lot of local races just because I couldn't afford to put the time on my bike.
Got to save it.
Yeah.
Damn. So in that off season, like you said, you won Ironman to end that kind of 2015 campaign. When did support start coming together for 2016?
So when I switched back to the Honda in 2015, Johnny noticed, and I remember
Johnny
it was
Campbell.
after one Johnny Campbell, yeah, and I remember after one race we just happened to go to the same restaurant and ended up sitting down, talking with him a little bit over dinner, and yeah, that's when the conversation started about I might be able to sign with him for 2016.
So they are a. How long had they been at GNCC's at that time? Do you remember?
I think they started with Bach in 2014. I'm pretty sure.
So that would have been their second year, pretty much,
Yep.
when you switch back to the Honda.
Hmm.
So from that conversation at dinner, did you have you left that day feeling like, hey, there's a pretty good chance I'll be riding this on this Honda team next year?
There was a chance, but at that point, I don't know. I had been in talks with a lot of teams over the past 2 years, and nothing ever really happened. It all kind of fizzled out. I was promised a lot. So at the time when we first sat down and like after we had the conversation, I wasn't letting myself get excited about it. I was like, oh, it's just going to be like everything else. It's just going to fizzle out. And I was planning on doing my own thing again in 2016.
Really?
Yeah. I don't even think it's hard for me to remember, but I don't even think I was planning on racing GNCCs anymore. I was just going to race local races because I couldn't afford to do it anymore, dude.
Mm. Looking back on it now, like thinking back to that moment of stop going to the GNCCs, and then 2016 was arguably one of the best seasons of your career. Obviously, a championship came out of it. Do you ever think back and wonder, like, what if you would have made that decision to not go back to the GNCCs? What if you didn't bet on yourself? Like, has that ever played into anything that you've been doing to this point?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you can, in the moment, it's I feel like you go through things and it's tough in the moment. And then it's not until you get on the other side of it, you look back and you're like, damn, that's what changed me. Like, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I am now. So,
Yeah, and like I said, 2016 was a huge year. So when in that off season did you get the official word from JCR to join the team? Hey, you got support. We got your back. When did all that come about?
so after Ironman, Johnny actually asked me to come out and work for, I guess it would be corporate Honda on testing, doing R&D stuff on the rally bike. So I actually went out there and spent a few weeks testing the rally bike, which is pretty cool.
That's
I don't
sick.
think
I
many
didn't know that.
many people can say they got to ride a rally bike, and I spent a lot of time on it, dude. Like, so that was fun. I was getting paid to do that, so that was kind of my little gig to make ends meet. And during that, I was staying at Johnny's house, so he got to know me a little more, and I think he liked the person I was. Johnny's very strong on just having a good relationship with his riders, so I think he liked who I was, and once he met me and got to know me, that's when yeah, he wanted to sign me and ultimately sent me a contract.
Dang. So that was, I guess, in the winter time of 2015.
Yeah. Yep.
Dang, I didn't know that about the rally bikes. When are we going to see old Trevor Bollinger out at the Dakar rally? Is that coming up? We got
Dude,
to work on
not a chance.
it.
I've rode those things, and it's funny. It's scary at first because, you know, I guess we go fast in the woods, but we're going 20, 25 miles an hour through the trees.
Yeah.
You get out there and you're pretty comfortable running 60, 70 miles an hour. And yeah, I don't want to know what it feels like to hit the ground at that. And I can't imagine racing at that speed. That's crazy. I was just testing the bike, just basically putting hours on it. So
Dang. Yeah, that speed, I'm sure mistakes happen quick, and then before you even knew
yeah,
what
and
happened, you're looking up.
what's crazy is like when you're going, like I'm not used to going that fast, right? So like my depth perception's off. Like
Oh yeah.
so you don't realize how fast you're going and how long it takes to slow down. So that's what's gnarly to me. Even like the West Coast races I've done, that's what I struggled with. Is like just it's just I can't process that speed, you know.
Yeah, that's a whole different ball game. But then it goes the other
Hmm.
way. They come over here and their depth perception gets all thrown off when they got
Right.
trees everywhere.
Yeah, it's just what you grew up doing and what you sharpen your axe on.
Yeah. And so 2016, that axe got pretty damn sharp. So that was the year that started the whole XC2 championship and really a dominant year for you in 2016. What was your confidence like coming into the season? I know you talked about it briefly before, but having the kind of the ups and the downs in the XC2 career so far, when you had come into that 2016 season, I mean, were you happy to get on the podium? Was it championship or bust? Like, what was your expectations heading into that year? Because that was also the year that like Craig DeLong and Lane Michael. I remember they were both on that Coastal Husky team, and they were both contenders, and they were up there as well. And uh, that's really when we saw Josh Toth become Josh Toth late in the season. So, what was your thoughts coming into that year?
I mean, yeah, I won Ironman, so obviously I was riding a high the whole off season. Um, yeah, I came into to the to the year wanting to do exactly what I did. I knew I could win. I knew it. Like Jason was moving out, and I just felt like that I was the next guy to beat, you know. And but the main difference I think was, dude, I went from weed eating people's lawns on during the week, and then maybe getting to ride a little bit, having to take my motor out and get it redone before every race, like because I had one bike, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I went from all that to Johnny's like, here's your bike. You know what I mean? Like I had all this support thrown at me, and I'm like, dude, what do I do with myself? Like now I can spend all this time riding, and it really changed. Like it just changed my whole perspective on like being able to actually make it a job. You know?
Yeah. So making a little bit of money and getting support and getting bikes. So you're able to kind of have that free time and train and do the things that you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess things that you needed to do to accomplish that.
Needed to do, yeah, for sure. And just having the support of Johnny, and he's so smart with race strategy and stuff like that. It was really just having someone in your corner like that. Besides like me and my grandpa and my dad, yeah, they're good, but they never been in that position. Same thing as me. I'd never been in that position. So we were all learning together where Johnny brought this other perspective on racing and how to do things. And he really taught me a lot, dude. And I wouldn't be here without the knowledge he gave me.
But do you still stay in contact with him? Like, do you still talk to Johnny now?
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, we don't talk as much as we used to, but I still send him Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday. We talk. He actually, I talked to him before him and Ricky went to the car a little bit. So, yeah, we still stay in touch.
Dang, that's pretty cool. Because like you mentioned, that whole deal came together because he liked Trevor, not the racer Trevor Bollinger, just liked you from living with him.
Right. I think he's seen the potential in me, and then he liked me as a person as well. So,
That's cool. So, uh, here's my little side of the story. That year, 2016, that was the first year that I had a camera. So I was just wandering around the woods, taking pictures and doing the
yeah, I
whole
think that's the year we met, right?
do what?
I think that's the year we met.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I remember the first picture I remember you was the one at Big Buck. I don't remember I don't know if you remember.
Which one?
It was like I don't know, it was a badass picture. It was real dusty that year. I don't remember, but I was like blowing up some berm.
Oh yeah. Like under a
You
tree.
know? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep. I remember that
But,
one. the old 10 machine. Because that was
Oh
actually
yeah.
no, I guess that was when Florida was the first round. So Florida
Right.
was my first round taking pictures, and then Big Buck, and
Mhm.
then we go to the old Steel Creek in your stomping grounds right in your backyard. And this is actually, I just wanted to tell the story because I thought it was funny. So just wandering around Steel Creek, just trying to find pictures, take pictures, and there's that spot on the other side of the creek where it was like a downhill, and then you turn around and come right back up, and then there's a straightaway. And that's when I think you were going to take a sip off your hydration pack or something, but you took your hands off, and then all of a sudden swapped out. You were leading XC2 at the time. Swapped out. Next thing I know, I look back. You're cartwheeling down the damn wide open straightaway, and then the bike ends up landing on top of you. So I like threw my camera in a mud puddle. I wish I knew that at the time. I probably would have aimed a little bit better, but threw the camera, went running over there, picked the bike up off of you, and you were able to get back on and get going. I think I messaged you later on. I was like, "Hey man, glad we were able to get that bike going." And you're like, "That was you
Yep.
that did that?" I was like, "Yep."
Dude, that was gnarly. That was probably one of the toughest races that year. I think I still had 2 laps to go at that point, and
Yeah,
man, that one beat me up. Beat me up good for sure.
dude, that was a pretty good crash. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And still managed to win that race.
Yeah. I was man, I was on a in good form that year. That's
Yeah.
all I can say.
And because that was also the year that you wrapped the title up at Powerline Park. I think Caleb wrapped up his title that same weekend. So you guys both wrapped up the titles that weekend. But when you look back at that season, like what's some of your memories from that season? Like what's one of the like more memorable races or memorable moments, or like even like a turning point in your mindset?
Uh Turning point was Florida, honestly. You know, I had a lot of confidence coming into the season, and I remember going into Florida thinking if I can just get on the podium here because dude, I suck in the sand. I suck at Florida. Like dude, my whole amateur career, we never went to Florida because it was too far. We just used that as a drop, you know. And in North Carolina, there's not much sand tracks to ride. So, yeah, never practiced in the sand. Didn't have much experience there. And I remember I came out to Florida, and when I won that race, I was like, "This is my year, dude." And like that was really the turning point. Was the very first race, and but it was a good year, man. It still pisses me off. I look back, and the only thing I can think about is I had third overall for the year locked. Like I think I would win in the Ironman, and I only had to get like 15th overall. And I don't know if you remember. That's when Ian. I went around the drop off into the creek before Ironman Hill,
Yeah.
and he was in XC. Ian Blythe was in XC1 at the time, so I had called him, and I'd went around the rock jump, and he jumped it and like landed on me. Well, I landed with my hands in the creek, and a rock like bruised my palm super bad.
Mm.
I don't know if you did. You ever see the video of me like chasing after him after that?
No, I don't think I did.
Have you heard about it?
No, I was at that
I wish
race, but I don't remember this happening.
I wish I knew. Somebody posted it, but I don't know where it is now. But actually,
So what
I was
happened?
so I just lost my mind, dude. Like I just blacked out because before the race, I'm not. I don't mean to be that like disrespectful to him in any way, but before the race, I remember watching him line up and I'm like, I hope this guy don't get in my way. Because there's guys in XC1 that if you catch, they'll help you out, even if you catch them, right?
Yeah.
But there's guys that just, they're in the way, you know?
Yeah.
And so that I remember that thought went through my head before any of this had even happened. And as soon as he hit me, dude, I just lost it. Like I didn't care about the bike. I just started chasing after him, and I went to tackle him. Luckily, I didn't. Luckily, he took off. Like I didn't get. I don't know. I blacked out. Really, I don't remember
Oh, in the creek,
what I
you
was thinking.
physically
Yeah,
tried to chase him down and tackled him.
yeah, and tackling him, dude. I was so mad. Like I don't. I was just a fireball back then, dude. Even a few years after that, I was pretty hot headed during the race. But I wish we had that video to pull up.
Dang.
That's,
If you're
yeah,
listening to this and know where that video is, we need it ASAP.
yeah, drop it. But yeah, man, that's the only thing I can think about is that year. I think that would have been still would have been the record as third overall from XC2, and man, I just disappointed I let that slip away. Um, but that's a racer in me, wanting to always be better. If I could look back and change anything about that season, that's the only thing. Everything else I did perfect, and it was an amazing year.
That old number 10 machine get heated back in the day.
Yeah.
So, and this is kind of one of the talking points that I wanted to get to. 2016, you pretty much see most people when they win an XC2 title, the rules state you have 1 year to stay and defend. So we see most people stay down in XC2 and defend that. You obviously moved up to XC1 in 2017, so you didn't defend that number 1 plate. Before we get completely into that, just your story that you just told kind of sparked my interest. If you had that opportunity to wrap up third place on the year and you knew you were going to XC1 in 2017, why didn't you just race XC1 at Ironman?
Because times were different, man. Uh, I didn't make salary. The only way I made money leaving the race was winning the race or getting on the podium. So
Uh,
I needed the money, man. That was my first year making money, so I was basically paying off debt I'd accumulated over the past 2 years trying to race XC2. I didn't want to move up and get 10th or 5th or whatever and not make any money.
yeah. So you don't have to go into details, obviously, but 8 wins that year and a championship. Was that a good financial year? Did you make a good bit?
Um, at the time, I thought I did. Uh, Hearing rumors of what kids are making now, uh, I don't know. Wasn't that good. I mean, I can tell you my deal. I think I got $250 travel if I was top three in points, no salary, and a top three bonus structure is all I got, and bikes and parts.
Dang.
And I'm pretty sure there's A class kids getting more than that now.
Dude, on one hand, that's insane. On the other hand, at least times are slowly changing. But we still
No,
got a
it's
lot
good.
of room for improvement.
Yeah, I'm not bitter about the kids getting what they're getting now at all. Like, dude, it's good because our our sport needs to grow, right? These kids need support so we can have a bigger XC2 class, so we can have a bigger XC1 class. So it's good. I'm glad these kids are getting this support.
Yeah, we don't need a bigger XC2 class. We need a bigger XC1 class, Trevor.
Well, yeah, that's true.
But I mean, now
We
who's
need a more competitive class, is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
yeah. But I mean, kind of like what you were just talking about. You almost didn't race the nationals the year that you won the championship over support.
Yep.
So now there might
Yep.
be an A class guy that was his parents were on the verge of throwing in the towel and saying, "Hey, we're not bringing you these races anymore." And then now with that support coming in, maybe a kid that would have dropped out of the sport will become an overall champion in 5-10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely sets these kids up for a good future and gives them the tools to do what they need to do to get to that next level.
Yeah. But so back to you. End of 2016, you end holding the number 1 plate, XC2 champ. Did you end up 4th place overall on the year?
I can't remember because I didn't finish Ironman because I was actually leaving the next day or the day after. I was leaving like sometime that week to go to Japan and race. So I remember I actually left Ironman and got an X-ray in my hand, making sure it was good so I could go to Japan. So yeah, I just I think I ended up finishing either fourth or fifth. Fifth actually, because my 2017 number was 5.
I forgot about the old. Oh yeah, that is right. I
Yeah.
forgot about the old JNCC round. You overalled that race, didn't you?
Yep. Yeah.
Who
I don't
was
know
the
if
other one
that's.
that went over there? Was it just you and Taka?
It was just me. They were actually debuting the new Honda 450,
Oh
and
yeah.
so it was kind of a GNCC thing. Plus Honda was very involved. They wanted me to debut that thing there. It was actually the first time it had ever been raced by anybody.
The RX, the off road model.
Right.
So how was that experience? You get over there, you're the first one to not only race the bike, first one to win on the bike.
Yeah, it was a crazy experience because I got to meet like the chassis guy, the guy that designs Honda chassis, like all these, the motor guy, like suspension guy. I got to meet all these Honda techs that basically design the bike, and it was cool to just hang out with them and pick their brain and just meet. I mean, Honda's a legendary brand, so just to be over there and be around those guys, it was definitely a good experience for me.
That is cool, especially to be that high up involved in a manufacturer to where they want you to go ride the brand new bike. Did one of the engineers be like, "Hey man, I heard you said that my rally chassis was no good. What's up?"
Yeah, no.
Be like, "No man, I was just going too fast. I didn't."
Nah, it just wasn't the bike for me, man.
So, and I guess to kind of to fill everybody in, why didn't you defend that number one plate? Why did you make the move up to XC1 in 2017?
Um, well, I guess I should have mentioned this earlier. I think that this had a little bit of part of why I was so dominant in 2016 is I signed a 3-year contract in 2015, like the off season before 2016, and it was from the start. It was 1 year XC2 and 2 years XC1. Like when even if I didn't win, we didn't have plans of staying there. Like I didn't want to. I was ready to. I was ready to get in the big class and just try it. And I had the support to do it, so why not?
So if that new bike hadn't come out at that time frame and you move into the XC1 class, do you think that you would have tried to repeat in XC2, or like you just said, were you just ready to move up anyway?
Um, I don't know. I never thought about that. I was so pumped with a contract. I never never signed one like that. So pretty much whatever Johnny said, I signed it. I didn't care. I just wanted to race. So
So with no
looking back, yep,
go
I'd
ahead.
probably I'd probably would have defended it. I think it would have hurt me. I honestly do. I'm glad I went the route I did.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I mean that kind of it's like trial by fire. You get up on the front row and you're forced to perform at the front row speed.
Yeah, I mean, 2017 was, wouldn't say it was a disaster, but coming off my 2016 year, definitely didn't live up to what I was supposed to do. It was a big learning year for me, man.
Yeah.
2017 was.
Well, so let me just ask you this real quick, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want. Um, but with no salary in 2016, did that change? Like, did you get a salary when you moved to XC1?
Yeah, once I moved up, um, it's kind of crazy on my end. I signed a 3-year deal and didn't even know what my salary was going to be. Didn't even know what I was going to get paid the 2 years when I was going to XC1. So,
Like it
but
didn't
luckily
say, or you
Johnny
just didn't see it?
didn't say. Said we'll negotiate when the
We'll
time
figure it out.
comes. Yeah, but luckily Johnny was, dude, top notch and gave me everything I wanted and more.
That's awesome. And I've
Yeah,
always heard good things about Johnny Campbell and that whole JCR team, so that was cool. But yeah, you said that earlier, so it just piqued my interest. Just wondering.
yep, yep.
But as you said, so 2017 rookie year, it's a whole different ball game. Moving up to the pro class, to the front row XC1, and you're coming off such a dominant 250 season. You were on the overall podium what 2 or 3 times or more in 2016.
I know it was my first overall podium was Georgia and then
Snowshoe.
Snowshoe. Yeah, so maybe two. There might have been one more in there, but I think it's just two.
So you got all the hype behind you. You're on the top of the world in the XC2, and then you're coming in brand new bike, same team, JCR Honda in the XC1 class. What was the mindset coming into your XC1 rookie season?
Um, I mean, I definitely didn't come in the year thinking I was going to win or dominate like I did the year before, but I wanted to get some podiums. Just I felt like I could get a few podiums that year, and ended up just not happening for me. I think I got fourth twice, ended up 7th overall in the year. I think maybe 6th in class or 5th. I think Josh Toth beat me that year overall. But yeah, man, it was just trying. I don't know if you remember how I used to ride a 250F, but it was off the rev limiter. That thing wasn't that fast, and that was the only way it could go around the track. It might have sounded fast, but it definitely was not anything close to the bikes that these guys are riding now. And hell, I had to kick that thing to get started.
Yeah.
You remember when you used to have to do that?
Yep.
But
Ken Ross
yeah,
is
I
still
just
doing it now.
yeah. Well, see, it's taking it to a new level.
Those
But
what'd you think
I
about
guess
the 2015 chassis, or I guess 2016, or no, the bikes, the Hondas changed in 2016, right? Or no,
no
that was the
seven.
last year before
The
they changed.
the 450 change in 17, and then the 250 change in 18. I'm pretty sure.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I just struggled with learning the 450. I actually went back to a 250. Well, it was a 280. The second half of the season, just searching, dude. I didn't know how to ride the bike. Struggle with setup. I didn't know how to set up a 450. Um, it's just a completely different animal, and I was just a rookie, man. I didn't know what I was doing, and but but that year, I remember coming off Ironman, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but this is not the way. Like, something's got to change, right? So, moving on, going into 2018, I brought my good friend Tomas from Argentina up, and basically paid him to be my trainer, and uh, yeah. So I think 2017 is what started the change in me in the off season of leading up to 2018.
So 2017, that first rookie year, being on that team, second year of a 3-year deal, was there any expectations put on you? Like, was there anybody breathing down your neck like, hey, man, we're expecting wins. What's going on out there? Or was it everyone kind of on the same page of, hey, let's take time, let's figure this thing out? Like, how was that? Like, how was the expectations versus, like, team expectations versus your own expectations?
Dude, another testament to Johnny. He knew the expectations I put on myself, and he just wanted to support me, dude. He never once said, "Hey, dude, we gotta do better. We gotta be on the podium." Like, never once, dude. Like, it was all he knew I took it serious, and he left that up to me to put the pressure on myself. So, class act by him, man. It was if I would have had that pressure, I don't know. I mean, maybe it would have been too much for me because I already put a lot of pressure on myself, you know.
Dang. So,
Like,
fast.
I remember, this is kind of personal, but I remember coming in after Tomahawk, I think it was. It was my last race on the 450 that year, and dude, I like bombed it, like 12th, 13th overall or something. Like, and nothing happened. Like, I just got 12th or 13th overall, and I just came in and started balling, dude. And I was like, Johnny, I don't know what's going on. Like, I just suck. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, that whole year was just, that sums it up. Like, I just didn't know what I was doing wrong. Didn't know how to fix it. Like, didn't know. Rookie, I guess.
So, who suggested a bike change?
It was my idea. Um, Probably a stupid idea, really. I felt like the bike was the only thing different from 2016 to 2017, and I'm surprised they let me do it because the new 450 RX, they're debuting it, and then you got your XC1 guy going back to a 250F. I can't believe they let me do that, but yeah, I just wanted to get back on the 250 and see if that was the difference, and I learned really quick that it wasn't that the 250 Honda was so slow, and it could not compete against those guys in XC1. Maybe I was faster, but we'd hit an open section and they got me by 2 or 3 bike lengths. You know what I mean? Like, it was definitely not the right move.
Dang.
But
So, and then 2018, that's when you mentioned that you brought Tomas over, and Oh, 2016 or was it 2016 or 2017? You won the Mid East overall championship, or both years?
Mm, both years, I'm pretty sure.
Gotcha. That's what I was thinking. But so Tomas came over, and that's
No,
the
no,
year.
no. Actually, 2016, I didn't. I raced most of the Mid East, but I had to miss a bunch for 6 days, and I missed a bunch for that Japan thing, so I wasn't even eligible. So it was 2017 when I won the Mid East.
Oh yeah, with the number 5. I remember that.
Yep, yep.
Gotcha. Um, so back to that off season, you brought in a trainer. Um, Tomas was kind of helping you do your thing. You actually, that's the year you dropped a bunch of weight going into 2018, right?
Yeah, I was fed up, dude. I basically called him and I said, whatever it takes, I need you here. I'll pay for everything, but I want like something's got to change.
Johnny
And
must
I
have
was like, what
really
it?
been looking out for that salary.
I mean, it was he helped me, no doubt. He helped me with him,
Yeah.
but it was still a big, I guess, a big gamble on myself doing that.
Had you done any off the bike training before that?
I had I had a road bike and stuff, and I did that, but I didn't know what I was doing, dude. I was just, I mean, my mindset back then is if you're training, then you're training as hard as you can the whole time, and I didn't know nothing about base training or gym work or anything like that. I was just winging it, dude. And
Just going, 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 going.
and but after 2017, I knew I needed help. Like I knew I didn't have the knowledge to get to where I wanted to be, and that's why I brought him over and basically gave him the reins. I said, whatever you tell me to do, whatever you tell me to eat, whatever, dude, I'm all in. And I think I ended up losing 50 pounds in about 2 months, and really focused on learning to ride the 450. You know, I knew that was my problem in 2017. I learned how to ride it, and I learned how to set it up. And man, when we came in 2018, I was a different person, really.
Yeah, I remember like physically just seeing such a huge change in you going into that year. And I mean, 2018, for all intents and purposes, I mean, it was I guess you would it would be better to hear you describe it, but it seems like a good year. Some solid finishes, some podiums, a lot of consistency throughout the year. What do you think back of 2018?
It was a good year, yeah, for sure. I wouldn't change anything. Like, yeah, I wasn't the most consistent, but I was a lot more consistent, and I got a couple podiums. Like, I was actually fighting for podiums instead of fighting for top fives, you know. So I feel like I could see the jump I made, and just the way I felt after the races and stuff. Like, it sparked a. It changed me really. Like, it showed me that hard work does pay off, and like you can make this happen if you just work hard. And so it really opened my eyes up a lot. I think Still Creek was my first podium,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of bittersweet because I was super pumped about getting my first podium. I think edged out Stu for it, but came in, and I think you can look back, but I think I was 5 minutes off Thad and Caleb, and I got third. It's pretty embarrassing, actually.
Well, that was also one of those years where it seemed like Thad and Caleb were doing that like most races.
Yeah, dude, they were on. I mean, I think that was maybe 17 was Thad's like breakout year, but dude, him and Caleb were on a different level in 18 for sure.
Yeah, and so I remember once again filming at that Steel Creek race for that race, and I think that was the one that a lapper got in between them two, like in one of the final sections, and Thad got the win. But what's that like for your mentality? Excuse me, and I guess like mindset. Like you're putting together the best year so far in XC1. You get your first podium, and then kind of like you said, immediately as soon as we started talking about your first podium, you went to. But Caleb and Thad were 4 minutes ahead. What is that like? Because you got on one hand the confidence of getting up on the podium and getting in the top 5, getting into the top 3, but then seeing that gap up to first. I mean, is that something to build on, or is that kind of one of those things where you look back and like, I got a lot of work to do?
Yeah, I had a lot of work to do. I mean, I just didn't. I came in from that race and I rode good, dude. Like I don't know how I could have rode any better, and then to see, I didn't know, I don't recall knowing that they were that far ahead of me during the race, but I remember coming off the race and or after the race, I was like, damn, dude, I just got beat by 5 minutes and I got third. Like, is that even really a podium? Like, I don't know. It was a little weird feeling for me.
But on the flip side of that, how did it feel like at Steel Creek? Like you said, you live right down the road from it, and you've obviously had a lot of success there. Was did that make it a little bit sweeter getting your first podium at your hometown race?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've had a lot of history with Steel Creek. I think I got my first my first overall amateur there. I got my first XC2 win, my first XC1 podium, and I was hoping to get my first XC1 win there, but I guess
Well, that plan went to
you know,
shit.
yeah, you know what happened there, the whole family deal, and they ended up shutting it down. So,
That is a bummer that Steel Creek went. I think that was a lot of people's favorite race.
dude, the fans were gnarly, and it was even more gnarly for me because, like, I remember going there when I was in elementary school. Like, Steel Creek was just like a part of Morganton. It's like the yearly event that everyone went to,
It was like a holiday.
just like a festival that everybody goes to. You know what I mean? It was a holiday for rednecks to get out in their trucks and do donuts, and that place was wild back in the day, man.
Yeah. Campers burning down.
Dude. Yeah.
There was a
Oh
lot of
man.
stuff that happened out at the old Steel Creek.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what is there any other races in 2018 that kind of stood out to you? I know you got second place that year and a couple more podiums.
Yeah, I guess the Tomahawk, I had a phenomenal ride. That's the one I followed Caleb basically all day, and I actually felt like I could have won that. Like looking back on my career, there's a few races I felt like I was in a position to win and could have won, and that one's probably the number one on the list. I actually I don't know what happened that day. It was the easiest race I've ever rode in my life. Me and Caleb checked out early, and I followed him all day, and I remember the track was super like technical. It was like super slick, and I knew if I got around Caleb, I wouldn't be able to pull away. So I was basically biding my time the whole race. And I remember 2 laps to go, I hit this log and bent my brake rotor and had no rear brakes the last 2 laps. So
Dang.
I wanted to do something, but I just couldn't. Like I don't know how I was even able to follow him with no rear brakes. Um,
Especially you.
but
You're a big rear brake guy.
yeah, yeah, that just goes to show you that you don't really need it. But 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 to push the issue and like try to go for a pass, like I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. So basically, it was pretty tough just to sit there and follow him and just ride it in, like, and not at least try. I would have at least tried something if I had brakes, but I just couldn't. But I never said anything. I don't even think I said anything on the podium. I didn't want to be like, oh, if this was, I'm not that guy. So
Yeah. But if this was different, no, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
So
But if
looking
a
back, do
frog
you
had,
think that's the race that you were closest to getting your first win at?
there's been a few, but that's definitely one of the top ones.
Gotcha. So
I think
then,
2019, I had a few races. I was there anyway. I was
yeah,
there.
and that's that just and it's kind of cool going back through this and like just kind of thinking about it from a fan's perspective, like trying to think back to those years and trying to think back to how everything was during that time frame and like what everyone's perception was and all that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah, it's super cool for me too, just to reflect on what I've done and go back and think about the mind state I was in at certain times. It's cool.
And then so moving into 2019, unfortunately, I would say probably, well, I mean, starting halfway through 2019, we're going to get into that here, but then especially over the past few seasons, it seems like a lot of your story has also unfortunately included a lot of injuries. And I know that's one of the things that you want to talk about and kind of get into, but 2019, you come out with a bang, start off pretty strong there, end up getting sick, or I'll let you get into that here in a minute, but what was the expectations coming into that year? Because that was the year that you switched to the Husky, right?
Yeah, I switched to Husky. Johnny's Honda support. We were trying to grow the Honda thing, and Honda just, I don't know, they just don't care about off road racing, I guess, and uh, yeah, so they didn't want to give Johnny the money to do what we needed to do, so they found another team that had more resources, and yeah, so when that happened, I talked with those guys, and it just didn't work out, and I ultimately found a home at Husky, and super thankful they brought me on and gave me the opportunity. And coming into that year, I feel like the year before my goal was to be on the podium, right? And then 2019, my goal was to make that next jump. Like, I didn't want to get beat at Still Creek by 5 minutes and get third. Like, I wanted to at least be with those guys,
Yeah.
and that was my main goal coming in there. I didn't think I was going to, yeah, I wanted to win the championship, right? But I hadn't even seen, I hadn't even been in the battle at the end of the race for a win. So how could I say I'm coming in to win a championship?
But I mean, racing at that level, that's kind of got to be the mindset, right? Like, I know right
Yeah,
now you're just kind of being modest and saying it like that, but going into that season, I'm sure that had to be a realistic thought.
yeah. I mean, it was, but I'm not a. It's probably hurts me more than anything. But I'm not. I'm a very realist person. When the helmet goes on, obviously I change. I turn into an asshole. But but
Especially in the
yeah, I'm a
creek.
realist, and I try to look at things for. I don't want to set my goals too high and then fall short until like you failed. So I always firm believer in making a lot of small goals and just try to click off as many as you can. And so that was where I was at that point. I just wanted to try to fight for a win, maybe get a win, and try to just be in the battle. I didn't feel like, even when I got a podium in 2018, like at Still Creek, I wasn't in the battle. So, and yeah, I had a few off rides where I was in the battle, but I wasn't there consistent.
Gotcha. And so, real quick on the Johnny Campbell thing, I think was that the year that they made the new moto bike and like Ken Roxon went to Honda and all that stuff was happening.
17.
Oh, okay, it was a couple years off.
So 17 was when they come out with the new RX and they come out with the new R, and then
That's
that's
right.
when Roxon signed with them. Yep.
Gotcha. So with the JCR thing, it sounded like you guys did whatever you could do to keep the team on the East Coast, and it just wasn't in the budget, wasn't in the cards. But JCR still existed out on the West Coast, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So was there any talk into that about like seeing what could be done to keep it on the East Coast, or was it just pretty much just came down to a funding thing from Honda?
Yeah, it's basically funding. Like we needed more people there. It was basically me and Eric and Johnny, um, and Johnny's or Eric's my mechanic, so he's got to stay in the pits. The only person I had out in the woods was Johnny, and you know how many other team riders are out there helping, and I
Yeah.
just felt like I was at a disadvantage at that, with that. So I was really pushing for more support. Like, we need more people here, and yeah, basically Honda was like, well, if you need that, we're going to have to go a different direction. I guess. I mean, that's the best I can gather of it. I never talked to anyone at Honda directly, so I don't really know. But
Dang. Yeah, I mean that plays a big role, especially when you think to some of the teams got people every quarter mile. It seems like all over in the
yeah,
woods.
yeah.
So how'd the Husky deal come about? Did you have other team offers that year?
No, actually, I wasn't getting anywhere with the Honda, like asking for more support the whole year. So I actually reached out to Timmy at Husky. Um, yeah, and when he found out Johnny was pulling out, I basically expressed to him that I wanted to ride for his team. I didn't want to go anywhere else, and yeah, luckily he was able to get me a deal, and I didn't even search around for another deal from another team. That was the team I wanted to ride for.
Sweet. That's really cool to see that work out like that. Then, especially having Timmy be such a part of it from the beginning and everything that he did for that team as well. But how big of an adjustment was it to jump on a new bike that was completely different once again?
Um, it was a big no, it wasn't a big jump. It was very easy, honestly. It was I mean the bike was so like they had been testing it, so it wasn't just me. Like on Honda, it was just me, dude. Like there was no one else like giving feedback. Where with Husky, they had these guys racing these bikes, and they have all these people testing it. Like it's just a different level of support. So when I jumped on the bike, dude, I felt right at home. Really, it was a very easy transition for me.
And kind of like you said, like with JCR being like kind of a grassroots program and just the three of you guys trying to make it work, what was it like jumping to that Husky thing where it's like a full blown factory effort? You got everything at your disposal. You got parts, you got mechanics, you got anything you could possibly need. Like, what was the turnaround time? Like, say if you wanted something changed for the bike, like, did you notice a big difference in things like that, or did you just kind of play it like business as usual? Here's my bike, we'll make it work.
Yeah, with Honda, I did a lot of testing, dude. Like a lot of testing. And when I went to Husky, it was kind of a I don't know. We didn't do much testing really. We test twice a year, and I mean, when I was on Honda, Eric lived 30, 45 minutes from me, so wasn't nothing for us to test 3 or 4 times a week.
All
And
throughout the season and everything?
yeah, yeah, like every week. I mean, I was searching on that 450. Like that was a big old bike, and I didn't know how to ride it. So yeah, but when I got on the Husky, it was just. I guess it was good in a way because I feel like I maybe spent too much time at Honda, like trying to get the bike better. And then Husky is like, okay, this is what it is. Like, yeah, I can change stuff, but it's it wasn't like my mechanic lived down the road and I come up with an idea and we go try it the next day. So it was a little different in that way. But I mean, there's good and bad to it. I think it was good because I wasn't focused on trying to make the bike better. You know,
Yeah.
it was already good enough. You know what I mean? Like I didn't need to waste my time doing that.
Yeah. Like they had the good baseline and
Yeah, yeah, I was right. I mean, like I said, I was comfortable on that thing right away, and
do you ride
yeah.
a 350 or a 450?
My first year I rode a 450, just because I learned how to ride a 450, and Honda didn't offer a 350, so that wasn't even an option for me. And yeah, I didn't want to have to relearn how to ride a 350 because I feel like a 350 is more like riding.
A
It's
big
almost in
bore?
between riding. No, like riding a 250F. Really,
Yeah, like a big bore
you can.
250F.
Yeah, you can just rev it and it handles like a 250F. It don't get so upset. Don't have all that inertia in the motor. So
So do you still ride a 450 now?
no, I actually switched to a 350.
What year did you make
Mac,
that switch?
um, 20. Let's see, 20 coming into 22.
Gotcha. So just
Be,
last year.
there's a story for that too. Um, we can go into it, I guess. I don't know if you remember Ironman 2021, the motor.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Uh, I was actually leading the race again, and yeah, my bike blew up, and I was pissed, dude. Because well, I guess we can get into that later because I'd have to talk about the season.
All right. So we'll start 2019. First year on the Husky. on the Husky 450 going into that year. What was different about that year? What was it like coming into that one? I know your biggest goal is, like you said, trying to tighten that gap between really Thad and Caleb at that time.
Yeah, they were the two guys to beat at that time, and yeah, just that was my goal coming in. I wanted to be there at the end of the races and at least see what was going on and be able to fight for a win, and ultimately we were able to do that. I mean, um, I think I got fourth at Florida. Well, let me back up a little bit. Luckily, that I actually started dealing with my knee problems at the end of the off season in 2019. I actually twisted my knee at GTR or Palmetto or whatever they call that place now.
In 2019 or
In
2018?
2019, it was actually the week before Big Buck, and I twisted my knee like super bad, like swelled up. And dude, I wouldn't. Luckily that year they canceled Big Buck, or I wouldn't have raced the first race. Like I couldn't. I don't. Luck just played on my side. Like they canceled Big Buck, and I was able to get another week, and ultimately able to go to Florida. But yeah, so that's kind of the start of. I think that's the start of the knee. I started dealing with the knee more, and but yeah, we was able to have a good season. I went to Florida and got fourth, which I was pumped on because, like I said, I suck at Florida and I suck in the sand. So, so I was pumped on that. We went to Georgia and I ended up getting second. I think I was a couple seconds off Caleb, 15 or so. Might have to go back and look at that, but yeah. And then we went to Steel Creek, and like I said, the year before, coming into that race, all I could think about is I'm not getting beat by 5 minutes again. Like. And I don't know if you remember that race. Like me, Caleb, and Thad had a epic battle the whole race, and
Yeah. And
and
that's the
I
also nobody knew that was going to be the last Steel Creek.
yeah, I know, yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, going back to Steel Creek, yeah, actually, I was with them all day, and going in the last lap, somehow Thad, I don't know what happened. Thad crashed. This is the last lap, like, and Thad actually went up. It ended up going on the win, and he crashed, and so there I was in second, and I didn't know how far Caleb was in front of us because he had just gapped out on us the lap before, just out of sight. And Thad caught back up to me, and I'm like, man, he's faster. So I'm just going to let him around, and maybe we can catch Caleb. And that's what I did. And it's crazy to let somebody around on the last lap for second place position, but I needed him to pull me there. I couldn't do it on my own. And dude, I don't know if you remember the story where Caleb got stuck and Thad like went on the line around him or whatever.
Yeah.
Like 2 miles from the finish. I actually watched it happen. Like, so I went from the year before getting beat by 5 minutes to watching Thad pass for the lead in the last 2 miles. So to me, that was a win, dude. Like, yeah, I felt like I was there. Could have won the race. I could have been bummed about that, but I was more pumped about, dude, the year before I got beat by 5 minutes, and now I just basically watch the pass for the win.
Yeah. So what? But I mean, in that scenario, you watch that pass for the win, but a couple miles ago, that was you in front. That might have been you that could have went around it. How quick was it to go back and forth between those thoughts? Because, like you said,
Yeah,
that was
I was.
a win because you were so close, but at the same time, you were like, wait a minute, I could have
Yeah,
actually won, maybe.
I was pretty mad at myself, like right after the race because I let Thad around. But at the same, dude, I wanted to get to the front, and I had been trying. Like he crashed like at the beginning part of the lap, and it wasn't until the middle of the lap he caught me. So I knew I wasn't, and I was getting pit boards. I wasn't gaining on Caleb. So I'm like, dude, if you can go and pull me there, like let's go. Like, so that was I've always been that kind of rider though. I usually don't do it on the last 2 laps, but dude, if we're in the beginning of the race and you're faster, go ahead. Like, let me follow you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to win this thing in the first 2 hours.
But you are trying to win it on the last lap.
Yeah, I know. But I was trying to learn, dude. I'd never been in that situation.
Yeah. No, and I mean that just shows the racer IQ and the racer mindset because had you not let him by and you guys are just battling back and forth over second place, then
Caleb would have been gone and probably won the race. Yeah, and we'd have
yeah,
never seen it, you know?
you would have saw him doing his interview after the race.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
It's an interesting dynamic to think about, I guess.
yeah. Yeah. I
But
wouldn't change it.
yeah.
I wouldn't change it.
So then going into the rest of that year, that was when well, I guess you know the story best, but you ended up like right around Snowshoe. I remember you were at Snowshoe and you were on the fence about racing and ended up not racing. Is that right?
Yeah, leading up to Snowshoe, I thought I had a sinus infection, honestly. I just had a pounding headache, and I don't know what was going on with me. So I went up there, and I was there hanging out, and it's just like my headache never went away. And finally, I woke up Saturday morning, dude, and I just couldn't take it anymore. Like, and I went to the hospital, and they diagnosed me with shingles, and my whole face was like broken out. Um, yeah, I don't. I still to this day haven't got an explanation why I got shingles. You know, shingles is something that it's basically the second part of chickenpox. So if you had chickenpox, the next stage is shingles. But if you haven't had chickenpox, you can't get shingles, right? So, but still to this day, I don't know why I got shingles. I have my own opinions of why I think I got it, but yeah, it was super weird because it's just like, how do they not know why? I don't. It
How
just.
do you think you got
It,
it?
I think I was overtraining.
And just kind of weaken the immune system?
Yeah, because like all these things happened. Caleb beat me by 15 seconds at Georgia, and then the thing at Steel Creek. So I was like, I just need to work a little bit harder. Like I just need to work harder. And they were in the middle of the season. You can't work harder in the middle of the season. Like I just didn't know what I was doing really, and I think it was from overtraining. Yeah.
So were you still working with Tomas at that time, or what were you kind of doing for your diet and nutrition and training
Um,
plan then?
I was still working with him, but it was all over the phone. I kind of basically took our program from 2018 and just did it myself and maybe added some stuff to it. I still talk, like he's one of my best friends, so still was talking with him over the phone, helping me with stuff, and then that was when after I got shingles, that was when I met Fetty because he was working with that at that time, and yeah, Tomas was in Argentina, and it's very hard to get him over here with visa and stuff like that. So yeah, I started working with Fetty, and yeah, that's kind of how that transpired.
How did you meet Tomas to begin with?
Mm, it was actually my uncle. My uncle met him at Snowshoe. Him and his buddy were here in 2015 from Argentina racing the GNCCs, and my uncle met him. I didn't even meet him, and they ended up coming to my house and staying and like riding and stuff. So I just started riding with him and met him that way.
Oh dang, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So then how long did the shingles thing last? Like how long did that take to get over and how long did it affect you and the rest of the season?
Dude, that was
Cuz I don't know anything
honestly
about it.
it's
I know that it's
still
the
to,
second form of chickenpox. That's all I know.
still to this day, even with all the gnarly shit I went through in my leg, the shingles hurt 10 times worse than any pain I've ever been through.
Really?
Yes, gnarly, dude. Basically, what shingles does is it attacks your nerves, and I had it on my face, so it was even more gnarly. Like, yeah, I don't know, but after that, it was kind of weird because I didn't know anything about it. Like, it's almost like a concussion. I think they know more about concussions, honestly, than they do about shingles. Um, so I didn't know whether to go right back into training. Would it flare up again? So it's kind of weird summer for me there. Didn't know what to do, and luckily I had Fetty in my corners, and he knew a little bit more about it than I did, and he helped me kind of steer me in the right direction and make sure we didn't overtrain and get into that situation again.
So how many races did you end up missing from that?
Just two. I think I missed snowshoe and they had like some weird race that year.
Was that the year that Penton was after Snowshoe?
No, it was
High voltage.
high voltage or like black sky. No, black
Yeah,
sky.
it was
Maybe?
high voltage.
High voltage. Yeah, I never been there, so I think it was a one-off race. Like they never went back.
But that was before. Was that before summer break?
I think the yeah. So the big buck got canceled, and then we ran snowshoe, and then the high voltage was the makeup for big buck. So
That's
it was
right.
after. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. So yeah, then after summer break, I think I got two podiums. Two podiums after summer break. Nothing crazy. Nothing. Still didn't. It took me a while to get over that shingles thing, man. It was. It was just weird. Is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah. So that was the year that Ben Kelly wrapped up his XC2 title and moved up to XC1 for those last two races. So
Right.
once again, it comes back to around the kind of same theme that we were talking about a minute ago. You ended the season second place on the podium at Ironman, and the only one that beat you was Ben, who hadn't been racing that class all year except for the last three races. So what was that like? Because I mean, I guess Thad and Caleb weren't at that one, but you beat everybody that you had been racing against all season.
Right. No, I mean, I knew Ben was coming up, and yeah, it was just he beat me that day. I mean, yeah, I was pumped with second. You know, it was the end of the year. Good way to end the year. It wasn't like I was going to gain much from winning that. I mean, obviously I wanted to win, and I tried my hardest, but it wasn't like I had a championship on the line or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it didn't really bother me. I was pumped with second and was ready to go bust my ass that off season and get ready.
Sweet. And then go through that off season, and then 2020 comes, and what a shit show year that ended up being for the entire world. But also,
Yeah,
didn't start off too well for you either. Talk to us about 2020.
yeah. So we've been talking about mindset, and so 2018, I think the theme was to try to get a podium. 2019 was anything off the podium would have been a failure, and then 2020, dude, I was confident and I was ready to. My mindset was I'm ready to fight for a championship. That was my mindset coming into that year, and
And that's your
man,
first year training with Jacob Fetty. Got him
with
training full
Fetty,
time. It's Caleb's last year. It's
yeah,
all that stuff leading into it.
yeah, and dude, I had the best off season I ever had. Like felt great on the bike. All our training went so smooth. I don't even remember crashing in the off season. Like I just rode perfect all year, and yeah, unfortunately went to Sumter and uh, just crazy how it happened. I don't even remember. It was midway through the day and just hit a root, dude. Like I was in a real slow section, just hit a root just right and planted my foot when my bike went out and my handlebars caught my thigh pretty much. So my foot's planted and you know what
Mm.
happens there. My whole knee just collapsed and I knew I knew what happened right away and I ultimately ended up finishing the race and got fifth, I think, and waited around after the race. I didn't want to go to the doctor, really. I remember we went to Stu's and Timmy was just hounding me. You need to go to the doctor. You need to go to the doctor. And I'm like, no, let me just give it a week or two and see. And then ultimately ended up going to the doctor and had all the scans and stuff. And it was funny. I went to the doctor and they were like, well, your ACL's gone, but it's been gone. Like this didn't just happen.
Really?
Yeah. So apparently I don't know if my graft from, I had a cadaver in 2012, the last time I had surgery, and I don't know if it just never healed or when I tore it, but it had been more than a year, is what he said,
Oof.
that I had
And
been
you
with
didn't
no
even know it was
ACL.
blown out.
I should have known because like I said, like earlier that year, I always had like I twist my knee, and it was like the same knee. Like I never twisted my right knee. Like it was always strong. So I should have known, but I was just too stubborn and I didn't want to go to the doctor. And I'd been through 2 knee surgeries. I didn't want to go through that again. So I just didn't even want to know. I just kept riding and just powered through it. And
So the one
so
at
I had a
Sumter, that
big.
was your left knee or your right knee?
That was my left knee. That was the one I'd had 2 previous surgeries on. At
Yeah.
that point, I had never. My right knee was perfect. I had never messed it up.
And so
And
I remember that year at Sumter, I was racing just like a few rows behind you, and I remember seeing you the test after it happened, and you're kind of over off by yourself, like kind of looking down at it. And I was come over and was like, "Hey man, you all right?" And you're like, "Ah, I don't know, my knee kind of hurts." And then, but you said when it happened, you knew immediately this
I
is
knew
no good.
something. I knew something was wrong. Like, and I think what happened, I tore my meniscus, and it was like just locking up.
Yeah.
But sorry, but from there, yeah, I had a big decision to make because I knew what the ACL entailed, and I knew it was going to be my third surgery on the same knee, and yeah, that's tough. I actually went to 3 or 4 different doctors. I actually went to Charlotte to a doctor, and he told me he couldn't fix my knee. Like I went to all these doctors. They told me that pretty much if I'm going to keep racing, I need to just deal with it. And
Mm.
yeah, so finally, when I found the doctor, gave me confidence that he could fix it. He told me if we do this thing, it's your last shot, and you need to take a whole year off. So if you remember, I signed a contract with Husky in 2019. 2020 was my last year. That was the year he wants me to take off. So I remember calling Timmy, and I'm like, we got 2 options. Either you give me a contract for 21 and 22 and I'll get the surgery, or I'm not getting the surgery and I'm racing 2020 because I can't afford to just sit out my contract here, you know?
Yeah.
No one's going to offer me a ride at that point. So luckily, Timmy was like, dude, I want you to get healthy and like give me a contract before I was going into surgery, which is, I don't know, it's crazy. I can't believe he had that much faith in me, and I'm really thankful for it.
Dude, how much did that take? Just thinking about making that phone call like puts me on edge. Like how much did that take for you to be like, all right, here's the solution. I'm gonna ask him for give me a contract and I'll sit this year out. Like that had to take
It,
some hyping up to make that phone call.
yeah, I did, but I mean, I just knew if I sit the year out and I was and Husky wasn't behind me, and I was gonna have to go find a ride, like that was basically career suicide.
Yeah.
Um, so that was I was if they didn't give me the contract, I would have not got my knee fixed, and I would have raced 2020 with a torn ACL because like what gave me the confidence is my knee had been torn. So I would have probably got the meniscus surgery, got that fixed, and then wouldn't have done the ACL and raced because I had been racing with no ACL apparently.
So what was the deal about doctors not wanting to do the surgery? I know that one of our mutual friends, old Destruction D, Dustin Simpson, he's had I think 3 on one knee too, and I know from what he was telling me, basically like they bore out that hole so big to fit that new ligament in there, and it basically got to the point where they couldn't bore it any bigger. Is that kind of the what you ran into, or what were the doctors saying about not wanting to do it?
Yeah, that's basically the problem. You think about it like running a screw in a 2x4. Well, when a screw gets bigger than the 2x4, it's not going to work. There's nothing to hold it there. So your bone's only so big; they can only drill so big a hole in there. So they didn't want to do it, and my knee had a lot of arthritis in it from my ACL being gone, and
Mm-hmm.
my knee was like in a it's basically eroding my meniscus like the whole time that I didn't know I had a torn ACL.
Just sitting there grinding it in the dust.
Yeah. So I had a lot of arthritis, and the doctors didn't want to because anytime you have surgery and you go in there and cut, it creates more arthritis. So that was the main reason was the hole, and then the second reason was the arthritis thing.
Dang. And
Yeah.
then, so that kind of put you on the sideline to take that extra time to heal. So what played into the decision to race an Ironman that year?
Race at Ironman. Oh, buckwheat.
Or was that the year? Oh, yeah, so buckwheat was the last race.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Oh, yeah,
super
because
weird.
that was COVID year when everything got all moved around.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I basically took that whole year off, did a lot of bicycling, like just had fun. It was actually a good year for me. I got to reset and really appreciate what I did, and spending that much time off the bike, it really, I don't know, showed me the love for it again. And yeah, but how buckwheat came about, I just started riding, and Timmy called me. He's like, "Hey, you should race buckwheat." I'm like, I almost laughed at first. I'm like, dude, I just started riding. Like, I haven't done, like, yeah, I've been bicycling, but I basically took 8 or 9 months off the bike. And I've been riding for 2 or 3 weeks, and you want me to race? But I was like, screw it. It's the last race of the year. Like, let's just go have fun and see where we're at. And what a disaster that was. I think I got like 30th overall or something.
Just trying to jump right into a 3-hour race off the couch.
Yeah, with 2 or 3 weeks on the bike and 8 months.
Dang.
And no, like I had no boot camp. No, I wasn't expecting to race. Like I was basically bicycling just to get my knee strong, and like I just started riding for fun, pretty much.
So then after that is when you finally did come back, and then you got back to riding, and then you tore the other ACL, which I remember when that happened, dude. That was a gut punch to everybody else hearing about it. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine how that was to you to just get back riding, get back going, get feeling healthy, and then tear the other ACL. So how did that one happen, and how did that affect you in that whole recovery process?
Yeah. So basically, I had a big eye opener at buckwheat, and it showed me how far behind I was, and which I was fine with, really. But I knew I was ready to put in the work, and I knew the work I had ahead of me to get back to where I needed to be, and so I started then. Like I started training like full bore in November, and yeah, man, just one weekend decided to go to motocross track, and yeah, it was just a uh, I don't know how to explain it really. I just got cross shredded on the face of a jump, and came down on my right leg just right with all my weight and the bike coming down, and yeah,
Like
blew out my right
leg
leg.
on the ground or still on the pegs?
Yeah, so it was like a little double. I mean, it was like 5 foot long, but it was like the landing was taller than the face.
Mm-hmm.
So I got cross threaded, and then I clipped the face sideways. So then it sent me like down the landing, like sideways. So I just stuck my right leg out,
Mm.
and yeah, I knew exactly what happened when I did it.
Yeah, not that it
And I
matters,
just,
but I blew my knee apart that same exact way. It was a really windy day, and I went off of it and got blown kind of sideways, and I felt like that was the only way to not really
it's
badly
just,
crash.
yeah, it's just an instinct, right? Like if I could go back, I'd have just fucking took it to my head or something. But I mean, just like when you fall, you stick your hand out. Like it's just
Yeah.
instinct.
Mm.
But yeah, that was a gut punch for sure.
And that was in November or that was in December?
That was in November. End of November. I think I had surgery beginning of December.
So you had ACL reconstruction on your right knee in December of 2020.
Right.
And then how'd you get back to racing so fast?
I just set a year out, dude. I mean, I wasn't setting another year out. I think I felt like I owed it to my team. Like they just give me this contract and let me set a year out. And then what do? Go get hurt again?
What was
It's
that phone call like to call Timmy and let him know that now you'd done the other one?
embarrassing. I didn't know what to say. I don't even think I called Tim. I think Timmy called me because I think I went like MIA for like 3 weeks. Like, didn't talk to nobody. Like, and Timmy finally called me and was like, "Yo, dude, what's up?" And I was like, "I tore my ACL again."
Mm.
That was the conversation, and I was like, that was it.
So if it
But
was
as soon
three
as
weeks, was that after you had already had surgery?
it might not have been 3 weeks, but it was more than a week. Like, it was long enough where Timmy's like, "Hey, I hadn't heard from Trevor. Like, what's wrong?" And but as soon as it happened, I remember I was like, "I'm racing round one. I don't care. I do not care whatsoever." Like, so that was my mindset going in. I think I ultimately didn't end up racing round one. Timmy made that call, and I don't think I ended up racing round two either. I think
No.
Georgia was my first race,
Yep.
and I was 2.5 months post surgery.
Dude. That's
It was
that's
that's
gnarly
the
just thinking
gnarly.
about.
It was the gnarliest year I ever went through in my life. So you got to think, I set all 2020 off, got back riding maybe a month, did it again. So and then to set and like yeah, there's obviously a recovery process before you can even get on the bike,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it wasn't like I was out here base training for up until Georgia. Like I was like just trying to get my knee to work so I could hit the brake and stuff. Like,
Mm.
dude, it was gnarly. And yeah, it was just a rough year, man. I remember I don't know how many times I got my knee drained throughout the season, just trying to make it to races. Like, and it was tough trying to, because I knew I needed to work to like get back to where I was because I wasn't in shape. Like I wasn't riding good, but at the same time, every time I rode, my knee would swell up and I couldn't ride for 3 days. So it was tough balancing, like letting my knee heal, trying to get better. Like it was a disaster year, really. It was so hard on me.
What was the physical pain like going into it? I mean, obviously, I want to talk about some of the mental stuff and pushing through it, but what was the physical pain in the knee like? Because
Um,
realistically, when he told you about your left knee, by a year, I think he meant a calendar year, not almost an entire race season. That was still only like 7 months after surgery. So, I mean,
right.
realistically, you were just getting cleared with the left leg, and then two and a half
It's
months after getting the right leg fixed.
exactly. Yeah. It was it was tough, man. Like I remember like at Georgia, I couldn't like to set up and go through a turn. I couldn't my knee wouldn't bend enough to get on the brake if I was sitting down. So I was basically like my whole riding style changed. Like I was having to sit back on the bike and like just so I could hit the brake. Like just dealt with a lot of stuff like that.
And did you get any team pressure from the team that year? Like, obviously, they knew what you were riding through, they knew what you were dealing with. And I know the results aren't what you would want them to be fully healthy, but just making it out to the track, I think, means more than anything. But was there any pressure on you from yourself or the team throughout that year?
Yeah, there's definitely pressure on me from myself because I knew it was. Let's see. I just felt like I owed it to the team, man. They supported me, and I didn't want to spend another year on the sidelines, and so I just put a lot of. I mean, there wasn't much pressure from the team, but I put a lot of pressure on myself to perform for the team,
Yeah.
and it was tough because, dude, you get to the races and not everybody pays attention that much. So they see me walking around, they see me lining up the race, they think I'm fine, but really, like I can barely hit the brake pedal.
Dude, that's insane.
Yeah, so I just had to deal with it, and it did get better throughout the year, and yeah, I feel like I finally got like back to where I was at Ironman. I was leading the race, and that's where the 350 conversation comes in. Where yeah, I was leading the race, and my bike blew up, as did a bunch of bikes. But seemed like the 350s, well, the Husky 350s anyway, didn't blow up, and I just kept asking like, why did my bike blow up? And the only explanation I got was you're riding a 450, it sucks harder. So I'm like, well, if we have 2 mud races a year, I can't afford to. If that's the reason, then I can't afford to have 2 throwaways like that, you know. So I just want to try the 350, and I ended up liking it, and yeah, I've been 350 ever since.
So that's what came down to making the decision to go to the 350.
Yeah, because dude, I went through all that like in 2020, and then the whole 2021 season, I was finally leading a race, dude. Like, so you can only imagine like how mad I was that my bike, dude. There was bikes going out left and right.
Yeah.
So, but in my, I mean, I was in that headspace at that time, so I was just furiated, like, why? Tell me why. And that was the answer I got, and then that's the decision I made.
Dude. And how long through that race was it before your bike blew up?
It was pretty early. But I had like came through the pack, and I remember passing Thad and Josh, and I just checked out. Like I think I passed them maybe 2 or 3 miles before the finish, and then my bike blew up as soon as after the finish. We went through the finish, and I think my bike blew up as soon as we went out in the field. So maybe I've been leading for 4 or 5 miles, but I already had like 30, 45-second lead by the time my bike blew up. I remember sitting there on the side of the track just for a while before those guys came by, and I just couldn't believe it, dude. After everything I've been through, I finally was leading the race, and then bam.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine that feeling, especially riding through pain all year long, dealing with that swollen knee, dealing with not hitting the brake pedal, and then at the one of the gnarliest races in GNCC history, you're out in front.
Yeah, and felt good, dude. Like finally, my knees it didn't bother me. Like, yeah.
Damn. How much were you riding in between races that year?
As much as I could, but like I said, I'd race and my knee would be swollen until Wednesday or Thursday, and then I'd ride one day, and then my knee would be swollen. I'd basically do like a day of riding and 2 days off. A day of riding, 2 days off. Like after 3 or 4 days after the race. So, dude, I wasn't doing much. I was doing all I could, but I just couldn't do much, man.
Were you still racing National Enduro too?
Yeah, I was.
That's what I thought. Like thinking back to it.
So basically, all I was doing is racing. Like I was doing like mobility stuff, like going to the gym, doing upper body. But as far as like cycling, getting a big base or anything like that, I just couldn't do it because I felt like the dirt bike was more important because I wasn't riding good. So I just spent all my focus on that, but I'd have to take 2 days off after I rode. Yeah, it was tough.
So then going in, it was the off season going into 21 that you guys did the 739 bike ride to Florida, right?
No, that was summer of 2020. That was during COVID.
Gotcha. For some reason,
that was because
I thought you
so
had a
bored.
bum leg when you did that, or maybe that was Thad.
Yeah, it was Thad. Yeah, okay. Thad was coming because he got hurt at Big Buck in 2020.
Yeah.
So he was coming off that, and then I was coming off. I was a lot further along than he was, but I was coming off mine. And I was bored, man. And that was like a weird year. So I just decided that, I don't know why. Stupid. I probably would never do that again, but it was fun to say you did it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can definitely say that you did it. So then I guess we can get into the recent 2022. And this one I feel like is another point of contention because just kind of talking to you throughout the season and kind of seeing how things went, like I know that there was a lot of ups and downs and highs and lows, especially after the last 2 seasons that you had, and then coming into this season, and then Ben Kelly gets hurt, and then what do you know? you are within 3 points away from Jordan Ashburn in the number 2, number 3 spot, to where that championship was right there. It was up for grabs. You were a contender all of a sudden. Talk to us about this year and getting up to that point.
Yeah, so starting out 2022, I had a pretty good off season. That was the first year we came down here to Caleb's place, and yeah, I was just excited, man. I was healthy for once. I was excited to get back out there, but I was also it was also like my second rookie year. I remember at Big Buck that year, I was so mad at myself because I don't know if you remember the race, but remember us all in a freight train?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Josh and Ben were gone, and then it was like third through eighth, I think, in a freight train.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I was just riding like a rookie, dude, like a complete idiot. I like trying to make stuff happen in the first hour and a half of the race. Just stupid. Like I was so mad at myself, but because I hadn't been in that situation in 2 years, you got to think. So I rode like a complete rookie, and
In that situation, meaning coming into a season healthy, ready to go at round 1?
no, just at the race, like I didn't have good racecraft. Just
Yeah.
I blew myself up early, like, and I was tired at the end just because I wasted all this energy at the beginning of the race, and so yeah, it took me a couple rounds to learn how to race up front again. You know, like in 2021, I was racing, but it was for fifth, sixth place. Um, yeah, so it took me a couple rounds. Finally, I ended up clicking off podium. My first podium was Tiger Run, and then we started. I think I got second at Coker, second at Ironman. So I was riding good. I was feeling good. I finally got some momentum going, and yeah, unfortunately, Ben got hurt. But when it's funny, people say, like, I knew Ben's injury was gnarly, but in my mind, when it first happened, I'm like, oh, the dude's just won six. What did he win? 6 races?
Yeah, 6 in a row.
The dude's just won 6 races. So what if he misses these next few races? Like, he's going to be back after summer break. That was my thought. So I never once thought, like, oh, the championship's wide open. Like, no, it just, I never thought that way. And I just approached the next few races as the same way I was doing before, because I was, if Ben wasn't there, I'd have won the last 2 races.
Yeah.
So I wasn't changing anything, but I always thought that he was coming back. So yeah, I never thought the championship was mine, or like I knew he still had a chance, and he had a huge points lead at that point.
Yeah, basically to where he could have held it through Snowshoe unless you or Jordan won a race.
Right? Yeah, yeah. And then the dude just won 6 races. Like, you don't think he can come back and get a few podiums to finish out the year? Like, that was obviously before we all knew that the extent of his injury, but that was my initial thoughts.
But I mean, so even going into that, you still in the back of your mind got to have that whole mentality of, well, maybe there is a chance. Maybe I am in this. And
I mean, there was a chance, but that wasn't my focus. I was just focusing on taking it race by race, and I wanted to get a win. I think more than anything that opened the door for a win, right? That the championship was way down the road. You got to win a race before you can even think about a championship, I feel like, and so that was my focus.
well,
And
go ahead.
on paper, anyway, you're supposed to win a race before you win a championship.
Yeah. But I know that there was some. I don't know how to say it. Well, let's just talk about that first race. So that first race that Ben missed, you go out there and regardless of what you think, I think, anyone thinks, that Penton race, the fact of the matter was the points leader isn't here. And the fact of the matter was we got a second place and we got a third place. So what? Walk us through that race. Like what happened at the Penton? Because I know that's a story that kind of gets misconstrued and not really told the right way. So what happened at the Penton that first race that points leader won that?
Yeah, so I came in the pit thinking I could win and put myself in a good position in the beginning of that race. It was me, Ricky, and String up front, and I think I was in third. Um, yeah, and then I had a clutch issue that ultimately got progressively worse throughout the race, and by the end, I mean, I could barely make it around that track. It was a pretty gnarly track anyway, and with that clutch, I just couldn't. That was just all I could do, you know.
So then, and I know you talk about perception is reality and that kind of thing, but I think a lot of people look back at that race and they just see the result. They just see the end thing, and and something like that obviously isn't going to get a lot of coverage at the time, and people aren't going to know what's going on. So I mean, did that kind of suck that coincidentally had a bike issue the week that happened? Because it seems like the narrative immediately shifted to what if it's a pressure thing? What if it's the pressure to win or anything like that?
Yeah, that's funny. People, yeah, they just like to judge a book by its cover. I guess they don't really know the whole story, but yeah, I knew when that happened. Like I was already in a big hole, and then like I felt like that just took away my chances. Any chance I had, like it just, I was pissed after that race. Like I don't know if you remember, I did some stuff in the pits and like got mad, and I don't know if you remember the big Instagram post I had,
Yeah.
but that was because I just had, I don't know, I felt like that was my race to really establish that to the next person to win, you know, and to have those issues, and I knew people were going to look at it like that. I knew you can say you have a bike problem or whatever, but people just look at the results and take it the way they want to take it, I guess. But you know, I came out the next weekend or the next race and backed it up. I think led majority of the race, and ultimately pressure, whatever you want to call it, I took a bad line and just clipped the lapper at the top of a hill and broke my hand. And yeah, me and Ricky it was setting up for me and Ricky to go to go to battle that last lap, and yeah, man, to not even be able to fight for it really, I don't know, it just really put me in a bad place because like when I first did it, I was like, damn, I hurt my hand. It's like I'm good, and I actually ended up riding like a couple miles, still in the lead. Ricky was right on me, and I hit a braking bump, and I just couldn't hold on, dude. My hand blew off the bars, and I crashed, and that's how he got around me. And after that, I was just like, I just need to finish this race. I only got one lap to go, and ended up getting, I don't know what I ended up getting, eighth or something. But even with those two problems, like I still had a chance. You know, I still wasn't far off Jordan at that point. I
Yeah.
think, and me and Craig and Jordan were like right there still. Jordan got this out after Penton and Mason Dixon, obviously, but still an obtainable gap to close. That's why I ultimately ended up deciding to race snowshoe 2 weeks after the Mason Dixon with a broken hand, and yeah, I got what I get 10th or 11th overall.
Sixth. Yeah, I don't know about overall, sixth in class.
Yeah, thoughts don't really matter for our points,
Yeah.
but I was pumped, dude. Like I remember trying to ride the week leading up to that, and I couldn't even make it around the track, and to go to the Northern races in America, they say to like I think I was like I fell back to like 20th. I don't even think I was in the top 20 at the beginning of the race, and ended up coming back to 10th or 11th overall. Like I was pumped that I just gave myself the opportunity to go into the summer and like get healed and at least have a chance after summer break,
To
you know.
stay in it, yeah.
Yeah, I at least had a chance. I had a shot.
So what was it, left or right hand?
It was my right hand.
So then you really didn't ride at all between Mason Dixon and Snowshoe with that broken hand, except for trying it out the week of the race.
I was trying to ride. I remember I cut like half my throttle tube off, so I had like a 3-inch handlebar grip. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like just trying to get the pressure off because it was the outside of my hand. I was just trying all kinds of stuff just to ride, and nothing was working. And I actually went to Snowshoe. Like I didn't even tell Anthony, my manager, I was racing, like because I didn't know. And then yeah, I just didn't know, man. And I was like, I'm just gonna go up there and bring my gear. Maybe we'll race, maybe we won't. And then once I got to the race, and like the adrenaline starts going, you're around everybody. I wanted to race and give myself. I couldn't live myself not giving myself a chance, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to do that.
And then I guess if you want to talk about getting into the summer and into the, I guess everything else, the way that the season ended for you.
Yeah. So coming in the summer, looking back, I wasn't in a good mental place. Uh, I don't know, man. Just the Ohio thing, the bike issue, then breaking my hand. It's just like, man, can I get a break, dude? Like,
After
so I
coming
was
off
like,
the 2 years before that.
yeah, it's like, just give me a break, dude. And I was just over it, like so over it. But luckily, I had summer break, and my hand was still broken, obviously. Actually, like separated it even more at Snowshoe, so that ended up prolonging my recovery time throughout the summer. So I actually went to Mexico. Like had a big vacation for like 10, 11 days, and just really, dude, I've reset like completely, and came to actually think I showed up to summer boot camp a few days late. But I was coming off injury, so I knew I wasn't. Even when I first got there, like it took me a couple of days to even be able to ride somewhat normal again,
Yeah.
just because I didn't have the grip strength and stuff. But yeah, by the end of the summer camp, dude, I was riding. I mean, I was riding good. I was. I'll say this: I can probably count on my hands the times I've beat Johnny Gerard in a practice moto, and the day I broke my leg, I was beating him.
Really?
And no one beats Johnny in practice. I mean, dude, the dude's just gnarly. I mean, like gnarly. So, dude, I was feeling so good about myself, and it was actually it was me and Johnny and Thad. We did an hour moto that day, and it was like I want to say half a mile before we were on the last lap, half a mile before the end of an hour moto, and I was coming off. We were in the turn track. Was about to get back into the woods. Just started washing the front end, like in the turn track. I was on the turn track, and didn't think nothing about it. I was like, oh, we're washing out. Like usually, like sometimes you have crashes, you're like, oh shit, and then sometimes you're like, oh, we're falling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Business as usual.
I'm sure, I'm sure you've had those,
Yep.
but that was what it was, and I was like, yep, we're falling, and then as soon as I hit the ground, like my leg just popped, and I was like, well, there goes my ACL again. That's what I thought, and then I remember
And it's right leg or left leg?
this was my right leg. And then I remember laying there, whatever. Um, they went and got the Fuller to like haul me out. And I remember like they helped me get up. And as soon as I went to get on the Fuller and I like lifted my foot off the ground, my knee felt like it just like came apart.
Mm.
And I was like, oh no, like this isn't ACL, like something else is bad wrong. Like bad wrong. And yeah, ended up Jacob drove me to the hospital. Found out I had a tibia plateau fracture, and by this time my legs like the freaking size of a balloon. And yeah, they were worried about me getting compartment syndrome,
Mm.
and
And a tibia plateau fracture. I actually had to do a lot of Googling when this happened to you. Once again, just bummed to get the news, but then do a bunch of Googling to figure out what that is. Can you explain exactly like what the tibial plateau fracture is and kind of what makes it unique, I guess?
so it's basically it's like dislocating your knee. Besides, my tibia broke off with my knee, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Like the top of my tibia basically broke all the way across. So now all my like, dude, I got out of all the bad luck I've had, I got so lucky. My freaking ACL graft actually broke off. Like where I broke my tibia,
Like stayed
my graft
attached to the
was
bone, the broken part.
my yeah, my
Oof.
ACL was attached to the broken part,
Oof.
but it didn't tear it. Like I don't know what the chances of that happening is, but
That's a strong
I got so
ACL.
lucky. Yeah, I got so lucky with that. I guess you could say the doctor did a good job on my right knee. But
Dang.
out of all, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows the story on that. I was in the hospital for 8 days, had 3 surgeries, uh, 2 plates, and 12 screws. Um, yeah, it was a pretty gnarly injury, but you know, after everything that had happened, to like find out my ACL was good, and it was like it just like gave me peace with everything. I was like, man, I'm lucky. Like, it sucks how it happened. Like, I didn't crash gnarly. Like, I wasn't riding over my head. Like, so that part sucked. But to find out my ACL was good, it was like a big sigh of relief.
Yeah. So they saw that it was still attached during surgery.
They actually did an MRI and found out.
Mm. So
Yeah.
with plates being on that thing, I know the big difference between plates and rods is when you get plates. I mean, you can't even put any weight on it for 8 weeks. But I mean, how long has the healing process been? Because another kind of crappy part about that tibial plateau is that it doesn't get as much blood flow as like say the rest of
Yeah.
your leg, so it takes a lot longer to heal. So,
Yeah.
what's the healing been like that since September?
So, so ultimately, I did end up getting compartment syndrome, and they had to like relieve it on each side. And honestly, I think that's where most of my pain has come from. It's like basically they had to do arm pump surgery on my leg because it's called a fasciotomy. So I think most of my pain come from the compartment syndrome because it like damages your nerves and stuff. The the bone itself, I mean, it's a bone, right? I broke bones. I felt like it was once they plated it. I don't know. It's just a bone, man. It's not like ligaments and stuff. They usually heal
Yeah, bones heal back.
pretty
Simple.
yeah, simple, right? But yeah, I was no weight bearing for 12 or 13 weeks. I was in a wheelchair, and that was pretty gnarly. Like just trying to do normal stuff is tough, but yeah, it's part of it. I've been laid up enough. I know how to deal with that stuff.
Mm. So then, I guess how does that all come back full circle, or like what goes through your mind when that happens, especially finding out that there's nothing you can do to get back on a bike quicker this time? You got to wait that 12 or 13 weeks. Like, I don't know, man. Just going through all the injuries and the ups and the downs, and coming back from one just to get into another one, and then like you said, at a high point, ready to close out the rest of the season, and still in the mix there, and then this injury happens. Like, what? How hard has this been on you mentally?
Dude, I mean, it's been tough. I can't sit here and say it's not hard, but it's uh, it's funny. I was talking with Jacob the other day. He has this one wheel. He got in the one wheel riding for a little bit there, and he had it in his van the other day. He was going to the gym, and I was like, "So you been riding your one wheel?" He's like, "No, I crashed it and quit." I was like, "I wish I was that." I said, "I wish I was that smart." So the one thing I've learned after all this, even sitting there with a broken leg, after I'd been through all this the years before, I never once, even sitting in the hospital, I never once said, "I'm done racing."
Yeah.
Like I, so it just, I don't know, it just like reassures me that I'm on the right path, dude. Like I'm doing what I want to do, and if this is the luck God's throwing at me or whatever, then it just is what it is. Like I'm not, I'm. It's crazy how at peace with it I am, honestly. Like I'm in a better position right now than I was before, like going into summer break, honestly.
From a mental standpoint or a health
Yeah,
standpoint?
mental. No, mental. Honestly, I'm not healthy right now. I mean, I'm getting healthy, but I'm not back on the bike. I'm still riding the e-bike for crying out loud. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm not, I'm not there yet, but my mental's good. Like, I know this is what I need to be doing because if it wasn't, dude, I'd quit. Like, it would be easier for me to quit. So it just gave me peace. Like, because like 2020, 2021, I was like, why am I doing this? Like, so this like gave me the answer. Like, this is why. Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I guess. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like racing doesn't make you a racer, but being unable to stop racing is what makes you a racer.
Right. Yeah. So yeah,
So
I'm
then,
just at peace with it, man. I'm really excited about 23 just because I'm in a unique situation now because I don't feel like I'm going to have the pressure on me the first couple races. Obviously, once we get into the season, I feel like by around April, I should be close to 100%. But um, these first few races are just going to be, hey, dude, go out, have fun, like do the best you can do. We know you're coming off injury. Like it's going to be fun for me because, yeah, it's just like, and I just got another 2-year deal. So I'm excited about that. New bike, excited about that. I'm just excited, man. I've been sitting in the freaking house for I don't know how many months it's been, 4 months, cooped up, and to get down here in the sunshine in Florida, man, I'm excited. I'm ready to go have some fun this year, and I want to do good, yes, but I'm just looking forward to racing and getting back on my dirt bike, man.
yeah, getting back to what you know.
Yeah,
So right now, you said your first time on the bike is going to be next Monday, and that you've been mountain biking and kind of going through some boot camp stuff down there off the bike. Is your expectation to be at round one? Like, is that the goal no matter what? Or, I mean, how
yeah.
does your recovery and timeline look from here?
The goal right now is to race Sumter. Um, yeah, I know we're going to be coming in like way behind, but it is what it is, right? I want to go out there and race because of the reasons I just told you. Like, dude, I love racing. Like, no matter what I go through, I feel like I'm always going to do this, and then so I don't want to. I just want to go out there and just do it, man.
Dang.
You don't. There's not. This racing thing's so short. Like I'm on the tail end of it, obviously, and yeah, there's not going to be many more opportunities to ride a factory bike in a race, you know.
Well, at least you got 2 more years guaranteed.
Yeah.
So that,
No, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about job security or anything like that. Yeah, I just love racing and ready to go
yeah.
race.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I was just,
Yeah.
so the contract you just signed, it is for 2 years. So it's through 23 and 24.
Right.
Sweet. So, I mean, how much does that mean to you with Husky? With them sticking by you once again and kind of believing in you? I mean, that's got to be a good feeling, and that's got to contribute to, like you said, being at peace and wanting to get back to it, knowing that your employer is still sticking behind you and still believes in you.
Yeah, I think it's like a relationship, right? I think they believe in me and trust in me, and like I've raced 2021 when I shouldn't have for them. It's for me, but obviously I felt like I owed it to them just to get back out there, and I'm in the same position now. Like these guys believe in me. Like my bones healed. I'm cleared by the doctor. Like why wouldn't I go out there and at least try to try to get their bike on the track and expose the sponsors and yeah. So I feel like I owe it to them for giving me what they've given me, and I can't thank those guys enough for sticking behind me. It's been a rough ride, but I put in some decent results too, so I don't feel like it's undeserving. I feel like I deserve the position I'm in, but I'm definitely ready to make that next jump, man. I wanna be the guy, but
Yeah.
it's just it's just about timing, I guess, and yeah.
Well, um, so I mean, what are you cleared from this injury? Or are you kind of pushing it ahead of schedule, or
Mm, well, actually, I'll tell you, not many people know about this, but
nobody listens to this
actually,
show? Don't worry about
I don't care. We might get 5 people, but actually made a big investment in myself this off season. I went to Mexico and got some stem
it.
cells
Ooh, stimmies.
injected. So that's I don't know if many people know about that stuff, but it's definitely not cheap. I'll go ahead and say that. And I can't believe the amount of money I just spent, but it goes back to it goes back to when I first started, like investing in yourself, and I still believe in myself, or I wouldn't be doing these things, like searching for ways to get healthy, or like you know what I mean. So I'm uh, I'm really investing in myself like big time this year, and I want to get healthy and yeah, get back to. It's funny I'm going through all this now, but up until 2019 at Snowshoe, I never missed a GNCC for like from from my first race at Steel Creek in 2013. I never didn't line up to a race.
Dang.
So I feel like I had one of the longest streaks there, and then now I probably have one of the longest streaks of being injured. But I guess it's just part of the ride, I guess.
Hey man, it's a good time to turn that around.
Yeah, there's
Um,
always a positive though.
yeah.
So just take the positive out of everything and move forward, man. Life isn't easy, so and it's not going to get any easier. So you just got to take it the way it comes.
Exactly. And no, it's cool to. I'm glad we got to do this. I'm glad we got to talk more in depth about it, and I'm glad people can also get to hear it because I think everything that you're saying right now is going to benefit a lot of people. Just everything that you've been through, everything that you've come out of, and then going right back into two back-to-back injuries on top of another injury, and still having this positive outlook and still having this positive mindset. I think that says a lot about you, and I think that can also help get a lot of other people through things that they're struggling with as well. So it's cool that even after all of this, you have such a good attitude about it, and even like you said, being at peace about it. I mean,
Yeah,
if you were mad at the world and blaming everybody, and it was everybody else's fault, it wouldn't take any of it away. You would just be having a lot worse of a time doing it. So
right, exactly. Yeah, but I just want to say, like, I don't know, maybe there's some kids out there that are going through injuries or going through anything, man. And I can sit here online and say I'm in a good place, whatever, but it's not. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, dude. Like you have to go through it sometimes, but you just have to have a positive outlook and know that it's going to get better. And if there's any kids out there dealing with stuff, man, just keep at it. It'll get better, I promise.
Well, time heals all things mostly.
The,
No, but the kind of reason I said that too, and I've kind of been talking with you back and forth over the past few days, but last year I compounded my tib fib, and kind of like we talked about, bones heal. It is what it is. And then Friday I went out and hurt my leg again, re-broke a bone, but now I feel like I got like some tendon and ligament damage because there's still some more stuff going on. So I've been a victim of it myself these past couple of days. I've been kind of down in the dumps, but
Yeah.
I think this conversation here and the positive outlook that you took out of it is helping me with a more positive outlook on figuring out what's wrong with this thing, because I can't even walk around my house right now.
Well, I'm glad I at least helped one person.
Yeah, at least. And now the other
Yeah.
5 people
Yeah.
that listen, they're next.
Yeah. Yeah. You're next.
But
Uh,
man, we've gone
so
on.
so tell me. Let's hear about how you broke your leg.
Man, I keep telling everybody the real story, and everyone keeps telling me to make up a fake story.
Yeah, make up one. Screw it. Was there many people there?
No, just me and the gorilla that was chasing the lion that I had to get in between. We were the only 3 that were there.
Oh, well, then they won't tell you.
No, dude, I was just playing disc golf with my brother, man, and went to throw a disc and slipped, and there was a big old crack, and I kind of collapsed over myself, and there was another crack, and the next thing you know, I'm laying on the ground wondering how I just got hurt playing disc golf.
Dude, that's so crazy, right?
But
It's so funny because like you meet people like that don't know nothing about our sport, and they're like, "Racing's so dangerous," and you ride dirt bikes to this day, and you go and break your leg uh, playing disc golf. Like, yeah,
dude,
everything's dangerous, dude. Like, you might as well do what you want and have
exactly.
fun at life.
The
Like,
first thing everyone keeps saying to me is like, "Man, I just saw you on a skateboard." It's like, yeah, I need to quit with the high risk activities like disc golf and get back to like skateboarding and riding dirt bikes.
yeah,
Keep it easy,
like
keep it safe.
I've had people say it to me, like, "Dude, are you not tired of getting hurt? Like, when are you gonna quit?" Like, yeah, I could get in a car wreck on the way to the race. Like, I'm not gonna live my life in fear.
Yep. No, I mean it's the same with me. Like growing up, obviously I'm not a professional dirt bike racer, but I mean I wrestled my whole life. I've torn my shoulders apart. I've had a bunch of injuries doing that. I've skateboarded my whole life, broken more bones than I can count from between those 2 things. And it's the same thing like my parents always said, and everyone else always says, "You're always hurt. Why would you keep doing it?" It's like, well, for one, it's what I know, it's what I love. For 2, if we stopped right now, our body's not gonna forget what we've already done to it. So you might as well get the most of it while it's working.
Exactly. It's better. I don't want to arrive to my casket with a good body. I want to use this thing, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to use it up for everything it's got.
Know that they've put a big magnet over it. We're sticking to it.
Yeah.
No, but no, I didn't expect it to kind of go this long, but kind of talking through it and getting to this point, I kind of want to talk to you about all the stuff that you have going on now, but I don't want to take up a whole bunch of your time.
I'm like I said, I got an easy day tomorrow. I think so. I'm down to talk about whatever you want.
Well, I guess the just kind of the biggest thing is this whole dynamic and the stuff you've been doing over the past couple seasons, like the Ranch Russell thing and training down there with those guys. And I guess you can go into as little or as much detail as you want, but it's kind of a unique thing where we haven't really seen all the top guys training together in the way that you guys have been training together. So just from being down there, going through it again, ramping things up for this year's season, and being down there with everyone again, and pretty much everyone coming off of injuries, it seems like. Like, what's that usually like, and how much do you think that helps or hurts as far as like training with all the guys on the same road, pretty much?
Um, it's definitely a different dynamic. You know, I've always been one. I've always been like a loner, I guess. I like being by myself. I like having my core group of people and people I trust, and I feel like that always worked for me. Um, but this is definitely it's definitely good, man. It's good to be able to ride with people on your level every day, multiple people, and we all push each other every day, especially on the dirt bike. So It's been fun. It's tough some days. Like I said, uh, Johnny, Johnny and Thad are probably the two gnarliest practicers I've ever seen in my life, and it's pretty hard getting your teeth kicked in every day on the practice track. But yeah, it's a good thing too. You know, it makes us all sharper, and yeah, I'm enjoying this process. It makes it easier. It makes it easier for me because I don't have to deal with figuring out a place to ride, and like before I had my own track, so I'd have to prep it and get it ready and then go ride and then so train, and so it's just another layer that I don't have to deal with, and allows you to focus more on your job and just riding and training.
Yeah, kind of takes the thinking out of it. So you just show up and do.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, sweet. So you're racing Sumter with being back on the bike for 2 weeks,
2 weeks, baby. It's gonna be so much fun.
and then 2 weeks after that, 3 hours down in the wonderful, groomed, perfectly smooth Big Buck.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the enduro is not gonna be. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna be sharp on the bike or whatever, but enduros aren't that physically demanding. I mean, I think I'm in enough shape now to be able to ride for 20 or 30 minutes. But the GNCC is going to be a different story for sure. I'm going to be hurting by the first hour, I'm sure, but I've been there before and I know what to expect. And yeah, just excited for a new year and a new chance to write a story.
Heck yeah. I'm excited to see it and start building this thing back up and get that old Intimidator train back on the tracks, boy.
Yeah, we're ready.
So is your bike down there and everything ready to go? Just gonna break it out next week?
It's on the way. Should be here this week sometime. So yeah, new bike too. That's going to be interesting.
Oh yeah, whole new design, right?
Yeah, yeah. So looking forward to that. It's I've been on the same bike since I've been with Husky actually. So it's gonna be fun getting on a new bike. A little change of scenery, you know.
What's it gonna be like
Same color,
riding that
same
thing in the
color.
sand though?
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to my first day on the bike being in the sand, but
Yeah. Well then,
it's honestly going to be better though, because I mean riding in the sand gets you in shape better than anything else. So
yeah, but I mean, dealing with the feeling of a new bike and kind of getting it dialed in, you're gonna get it all perfect and dialed in and comfortable in the sand, then take it to somewhere with dirt, and it's gonna be a different bike.
well, the problem I'm going to have is I'm not going to be up to speed. So for me to start testing stuff right away is going to be pretty foolish. You can't. It's hard to test until you're riding up to speed, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't imagine I'm going to be doing many changes. Maybe just little comfort stuff just to get me through these first few races. But once we get back up to speed, yeah, I'm looking forward to testing and seeing what this thing, how much better it can get.
Heck yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Looking forward to seeing you back out on the track. And I was really excited to sit down and chat and kind of go through all this stuff with you and kind of talk about all the roads that have led us to 2023 as far as where you've been and where you're going.
Yeah, man, it's fun. It was fun to. I never really sat down like this and reflected on my career, and yeah, it was fun. It's fun to go back and look at the things you've done and the things you didn't do, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Thanks a ton for coming on. And after we get the season underway, we'll have to circle back and see how things are going.
Okay, sounds good, man.
All right, man. Well, thanks again for the time, and good luck getting back on the bike, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
I appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Yep.